say aye, to the contrary say no. That is carried. So we then move to agenda item 15, and we have Healthy Waters and Craig McElroy here.
Thanks, Chair and members. Someone could just put up the presentation for me. That'd be great, thanks. So this is our 6 monthly update, and I'll whip through this as quickly as I can. Next slide, please. Was the clicker working? Or? So we've got 4 key drivers: growth, storm ready, or call it flooding, water and environmental quality and resilient systems, which we also call renewals. Next slide, please. So these are the projects that we've completed over the last 6 months since I last presented to you. It's about $42 million all up. Look, I won't go through them line by line. And the other point I'd like to make on this slide is you notice there are no primary drivers for growth. The reason for that is that all of the growth projects in this 6-month period were delivered by developers. So just to put some context around that, we've done $42 million worth of work that's been completed, but we've also inherited about another $60 million worth of growth projects. And typically the growth projects that are delivered by private developers outweigh our own investment in the stormwater space. Next slide, please. So these are the projects that we've started work on since I last was here. And once again, I won't go through them all line by line, but just to let you know that it roughly adds up to about $105 million worth of work that we've kicked off in the last 6 months. And top of the pots are the 2 big blue-green initiatives at Te Arata and Harania, which I've reported back to you previously. And if you're driving on the the Western Line, and you're heading in towards Newmarket from Henderson, and you look out on the right-hand side, you'll see the part of the Lober-Kaiva separation project that's occurring at the back of the university site. There's a big shaft going in there for that work. Next slide, please. So a lot's happening in our land at the moment. Making space for water is really a key focus for us, and I'm not only talking about in 25-26, but I actually believe it's going to be our key focus over the next 30 years. Because if we're serious about managing flood risk, making space for water is the mechanism and the tool we've got to provide for that outcome. We're also highly engaged with the Better Value Projects Initiative. We've been a key supporter of that project, and that is certainly what drives us in all of our investment decisions. We're also putting a huge effort on the way that we use our planning and data to manage risk, because we've got such a vast network of assets. We have to have smart tools and models to help us manage our business. There's also an awful lot going on with Auckland Transport at the moment, making sure, because transport is such a key function of stormwater, which is one of the main reasons why we're still part of the main council family and not split off as a separate CCO. And that relationship is just working extremely well around making good decisions around stormwater management as it's related to the roading network. Huge efforts going into pond maintenance and renewals at the moment. We've got a massive renewal backlog that we're having to deal with. And working forward into our future. We can't pipe our way out of the problems we have in Auckland. We have to do it through the use of natural solutions. Next slide, please. In terms of what's happening in the policy world, obviously the Water Services Delivery Plan has now actually been lodged with central government, and so that's a key function of the new legislation. We've been heavily involved in the contributions policy, Whenuapai structure plan. Our network discharge consent's just gone through its training and review process, and we're heavily involved in the natural hazards plan change work that's going on at the moment. And that will be subject to ongoing discussion as we work through the implications of trying to achieve some of the Crown outcomes that are desired. Next slide, please. Look, I won't talk through this in detail, You can read it at your leisure, but it's really just identifying the fact that in our Making Space for Water in 24-25 we met all of our targets that we set ourselves, and I think all in all that we've made a really great start to that program. Next slide, please. Once again, I won't dwell on it, but you can look at those at your leisure, but these are just some photographs that indicate the variety and some of the very interesting work that we get involved with. And it's work that's very, very closely connected to working with communities in just about all cases in order to achieve good outcomes. And that's me. Very happy to answer any questions. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind just waiting for a moment, I'm just going to put this item on hold for a moment. I do need to move an extension of time, and I would also like to move, as part of that, an electronic attendance for Councillor Turner. So do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Sayers. Discussion, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, say no. That is carried. So there are a lot of questions, I know, and I want to thank you for the presentation. You will have heard the earlier presentation from Watercare and the work that they're doing in terms of network capacity and identifying those areas. Is there any, over and above what you've presented to us today, given the pressure that is coming to bear in terms of consideration of intensification, will we and can we expect a similar work stream coming through Healthy Waters that might model that? I mean, we've heard that we're not going to get the capacity until November on some of the things that we want to hear on, but is there a possibility that there could be some modelling by yourselves that could be presented in that same way?
Yeah, the big difference between what Watercare does and what Healthy Waters does is that Watercare effectively operates two closed networks, one for water and one for wastewater. We operate an open network. So water lands at the top of the hill and ends up at the sea, and water will always take the path of least resistance. And so what our models do is actually show how that water tracks as it goes through the community. The other thing about stormwater is, unlike Watercare that's got a major problem if there's a 15-storey building built, because that creates a lot of demand for stormwater, at the end of the day, if you imagine all of Auckland was concreted, there was no grass whatsoever, you can never get more than 100% runoff off a square metre of concrete. So the big issue for us is actually not so much whether we've got 60% concrete or 70% concrete, is what is the rainfall going to be in the next 100 years that we have to manage? And I don't think there's anyone in this room or anyone in the world that can answer that question at the moment. All I can tell you with a high degree of confidence is in January 2023, we had a rainfall data set that was off the charts. We'd never experienced it before. And so the issue we've got now is that we've got these massive stormwater areas that are actually being generated by the effect of a big flood event, and we have to best manage how we develop Auckland, acknowledging that those areas to a greater extent are going to stay there for the foreseeable future, because as long as we've got the water coming down the hills, we can't pipe our way out of this problem. We have to rely on natural streams and the way that we retain the water where we can in order to manage it appropriately. So it's a very different challenge to what Watercare's got, but at the same token, it still has a big influence on where growth can and can't occur.
I really appreciate your response to that and the work that you are undertaking, but it is a repeated question for those looking for certainty and development, so I thought it was best to air it. Now, the next question we have is Deputy Mayor Simpson.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, as always. What an amazing work program. Well done. Having just been in, you haven't been here all day, but we've just noted that Auckland Transport have signed off on some diesel ferries. So I'm interested in the counter piece of news about your natural solutions that you're doing. And I just wondered if we could potentially, you know, what are you doing from promoting that with local boards and the public about the work that we are doing using more natural-based solutions to problems as opposed to upgrading or replacing the concrete that we've traditionally had, and the importance of that nature-based solutions for making space to water?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important the way that we communicate what we're doing. So we, at every available opportunity, want to take advantage where we've got a good news story to share with the community, that we do so. I think the great thing about the way things are working at the moment, we've got such a great relationship with all of the local boards. We've got such a great relationship with iwi Māori who are involved in all of our projects. To be honest, I think this is becoming the new, I call it our new business as usual, to be quite honest. I think when you look around the country at how this risk has been managed, and you look globally at how the risk has been managed, there is no other way than to work in harmony with nature rather than trying to compete against nature. And so, you know, because you don't know how big the next event is going to be, and the first thing that will happen if you put a pipe in the ground, it'll block. The minute that pipe's blocked, you get an unforeseen consequence occurring. So you're actually better to create open channels for the stormwater, and if you get a bigger event, have enough green space that's next to the stream to allow it to hold that water so it doesn't impact on the community. It is going to mean that in some cases we are going to flood roads for a while, because a lot of the roads have been put in areas that almost act as dams to the stormwater flows at the moment, particularly if a culvert gets blocked, for example. But I think you'd have to agree that it's better to maybe put up with a flooded road for a few hours than have people suffering damage on their individual properties. So, kia ora.
Yeah, I totally support that, and I just thank you for your work around that. So, yeah, keep the press releases coming out. Thank you.
Thank you. There would appear to be no other questions. So, Craig, thank you very much for appearing before us, and I'll ask you to withdraw now. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see that the Mayor had his hand up.
Probably sitting in the back seats here. With Kaingaora, you've got to be kind of tough on them. I presume you're going to be. I mean, we're not there to bail them out, and their properties are worthless without our investment. Oh, we're not. So I got ahead of myself. But question up for later.
Thank you. Councillor Ferry.
Kia ora anō. Thank you. Yeah, so I was just interested in the work that your team has been looking at doing and putting a business case together around offering site visits to property owners around what they can do with their own property, giving them some advice that, you know, obviously falls short of, you know, an official engineering report or anything like that, but gives them a little bit of help and advice. I understood that there was a business case going through your department to look at making that sort of a more available process as opposed to sort of being a little bit ad hoc and capacity reliant at the moment. Are you able to update on that? Because that's something that I know a lot of my constituents are very interested in being able to access. Thanks.
Oh, it's something that we're actually passionate about in healthy waters and flood resilience. Because this isn't a problem that's owned by council, this isn't a problem that's owned by anyone. In a sense, it's owned by everyone as opposed to anyone. And the only way we can get there is by all working as a team. And the more that we can work with homeowners around how they can manage their situation, because it's not an infrastructure solution that's going to work in all cases. There's not the solution. We don't have the money to do that. So in many cases, people do have to work around their current sort of site constraints. But there are things that can be done to make their lot better. And if we've got the subject matter expertise in healthy waters, it's beholden on us, I think, to share that expertise as much as we can with people who've got specific issues or challenges. So it's something that I'm really, really keen to see happen on a wider scale.
So where are things up at with looking at offering that sort of, I guess, as a service, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, look, I think that has the potential to almost turn into a small almost maybe a small little consultancy type service, bearing in mind that the ultimate risk, it's not, a normal consultant would be up then for the risk of any solution, so it's almost on a more informal basis.
Yeah, I think it would have to be. Yeah.
Look, I think it's going to be a little bit around supply and demand as well, just to see how that grows at the moment. So it'll be great to have the problem that there's a queue of people wanting to talk to us about what they can do to improve their personal situation. The other thing that I'd just like to throw in is that we're working now really, really closely with the insurance industry, with the banks, and with the real estate institute, because they've all got skin in this game. And I'm really keen to have all of those parties working together with us, not individually, but as a collective, because there's already some pretty difficult situations that are occurring around insurance and the non-insurability of some properties. And so the more that we can work together and figure out how we're going to collectively manage this risk going forward, the better. And that's also going to tie into the Crown adaptation policy work that's been run through MFE at the moment that I understand is coming out later this year. Because this isn't, this is a problem that we've all got, and if we don't work together, we're not going to nail it.
Thank you. And just finally, one of the things I'm dealing with at the moment is the interaction between the Category 3 land, which obviously, we've had some confidential briefings on where the buyouts might be. The plan changes, both 78 and the new proposal, which show the floodplains in roughly the same area, but have quite different rules for how that might be dealt with. And then the next steps in terms of what some of the infrastructure might look like. And so I would really appreciate at some point, perhaps not right now, a conversation about sort of the interplay between those things, acknowledging too that in a lot of cases with the Category 3 stuff, Healthy Waters might be a landowner, local boards might be a landowner, in some case maybe Auckland Transport will be a landowner, and how those things are going to sort of work together to reduce flooding risks for the homes in those areas with those plans, rules and the plan changes as well. So is that something that's, I suspect you might be waiting until we choose one on the 24th of September. Maybe that's something to bring to the new council, sorry.
No, I'm not waiting until something comes out on the 24th of September. There's some current challenges that Healthy Waters has with what's currently proposed and what some of the unintended consequences. And I just want to make sure, as council works through the feedback, etc., inside council, that we have those conversations before anything gets released to the wider public.
So that's your bullet point there about being involved in the natural hazards plan change. So you're talking about how some of that is captured in the new proposal. Is that what you mean?
I think we need to have an ongoing conversation about that.
Okay.
Before we go out.
So that's something where parts of council might be seeking further change once, after notification, if that's the path we choose.
Well, there's obviously the opportunity to A, amend what might go out for consultation in the first place, and B, what will happen through the consultation and after the consultation.
Okay, and the same would apply for Plan Change 78 if that's what's chosen?
Yeah, whatever decisions made around future land use, I just want to make sure that the risks around flood are on the table and fully understood before any final decisions are made.
Great. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We can ask you to retire now. And also, if you would convey to your team just the grateful thanks for all of us who have been present with meetings with traumatised homeowners and the sensitive way in which it's been dealt with. So thank you very much. I am going to move the 6-monthly update from Healthy Waters Resilience its delivery program be adopted. Councillor Hills has seconded. Any discussion on it? If not, Councillor Deputy Mayor Simpson.
I just think, I'm sorry that you're stopping some of the comments, because I just think this is an amazing piece of work, Craig, to you and your team. I think the targets met slide that you had in your presentation which was increased maintenance, community flood resilience, overland flow path management, you know, stream and waterway resilience, flood intelligence, blue-green networks. You glossed over that, but actually that's an amazing piece of work that you've put together here. And, you know, I sort of alluded it a bit in my questions. I really wish you'd sit down with Simon and have a really long chat and do a big, you know, what's going on here, because it's an amazing piece of work. And I just think that, as I said, you know, I just want to make sure that Aucklanders really understand the huge amount of work we are doing in this space, and our investment towards making Auckland far more resilient. And I think you and your team are to be congratulated. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, you know, just to echo the Deputy Mayor, this is the last committee that Healthy Waters team are coming to this term. It has been a massive, massive uptick in work this term, not just because of the floods, actually because of the work you were starting to do anyway, but testament to the Mayor and others and this council who've really kind of forced you to increase that work, and it's been phenomenal. There has been awesome projects in our area, massive uptick in operational stormwater management, but also those difficult conversations. I was at a Castor Bay Residents Association meeting the other day, and the team came out and we had to stand there and basically disappoint people because the project they wanted was now $25 million, and of course that community would love it if it would still happen, but we had to say that, look, you're talking about flooding of 6 or 7 properties and it's just not possible. But there was lots of other options and other things put forward of how the Healthy Waters team could help that community. And I just think you go into the fire sometimes in really, really tough situations and really help elected members have those hard conversations, as Councillor Fletcher said, especially since the floods, that people have realised that our infrastructure that was built, you know, many decades ago isn't actually fit for purpose to a climate change world. So I think we're moving forward, but it's going to take a lot of time, and just want to thank you all for putting an X out there for our communities, because it isn't easy, especially at those public meetings.
Thank you. And to the Deputy Mayor, I'm not trying to prevent anyone from speaking. I'm just mindful that we have the rest of the agenda to get through, and particularly on water care and healthy waters, it would have been great to have had a little bit more time. But that concludes that item, and I'm going to put it now. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, say no. So we come to agenda item 16, and that is the summary of transport information, workshops, briefings, and so forth. So I'm going to move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there any discussion on that or any queries? There being none, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, say no. That is carried. So we have agenda item, whereabouts are we, 17, and that's a consideration of extraordinary business. There is none that I know of, so we come to the matter of moving into confidential. I am going to move that. Do I have a second of that? Thank you, Councillor Sayers. We have any discussion? None. I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, say no. That is carried. For the members who are online, you will need to change, as I understand it, to meeting of this committee for your attendance, but I would ask you to leave now. So thank you very much.